Welcome to O-Talkin' with Dave. Here's Dave.
Hey, how we doing out there? I hope you're doing well. Top Shelf here. Absolutely top shelf. And you can be too. That's the message today. You can do it, man. Sure you can. I try to be positive. I have my moments. But, that's where stuff like Top Shelf. Years ago, people started asking me, how you doing? It's I'm all right. How you? I'm doing all right. Top Shelf, buddy. I am top shelf. Giddyup. Can-do attitude. Not with that attitude. You don't think you can? Well, sure you can. Sure you can. I believe that we can if we think we can. Now, you grow up. I remember as a child, I think every mother or father, mostly mothers, let's just be honest, say, you can do anything you make your mind up to do. You can do it. You can be anything you want to. Not really. I'm not sending you mixed messages here. I'm just saying from there's no rocket scientist in this head. No matter how bad I want it. However, when you get down that path a little bit, don't not do things just because you think you can. And we're going to talk about that. I remember, my papa, my granddad, he said, 3 or 4, he said hundreds of little snippets of wisdom, 3 that come to mind all the time. One of them is, and this could be a whole session in itself. Make sure, when I graduated I was the first person to graduate from college, either side of the family. And this guy didn't have a high school education. Unbelievably accomplished, very wise, and very successful. But he tells me a couple of things. Make sure when you go out for the day, somebody's paying you for your time. Wow. How many times as a sales guy was I just an unemployed taxi cab driver, but it would come back to me. Make sure who's paying me for my time? Who's paying me for my time? Another thing he said is keep your word, even if it costs you money. And he lived that. But another thing he said, and a lot of times it was funny, but he would say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. He would say that in all sorts of situations. I think about him, with money. Just because you've got that much money in your pocket doesn't mean you should buy it. All right? Just because, he taught me with hunting. You go out and, don't kill everything you see. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You get a little older and you do different things. With money, that's real big. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. With patience and dealing with people that, you get in a situation and they want to fight, you may be able to whip them. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And then there's so many different things. He used to always say, he would say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And you don't have to say everything, But what we're going to talk about today is about accomplishments. What things that you're not doing that you feel strongly about. Why is that? I think there's several reasons we're going to talk about, but some of the simplicity of it, and I go back to some quotes that I've known for years, but then I dig in. One of them was from Arthur Ashe. I played tennis. Arthur Ashe was a very well-known tennis player, but he said, start where you are, use what you have, and then do what you can. I love that because I came from a meager surroundings, I guess. Didn't have a lot, but use what you got, but do what you can. Not do what you think you can. Do what you can. It works. That works for when somebody says, "I'm not ready." That excuse, putting things off. Well, I've seen it in sports so many times. Well, I need better equipment. or I'll wait till I'm in better shape, or that, saying that's an excuse. I'm just not ready. Start small. Start from where you are. Use what you have and do what you can. And I could go to many things of people that I know where they have accomplished an unbelievable amount of success and things in their lives, and whether they've ever heard that or not, that's what they did. My grandfather included. Then another one, success is what happens after you've survived all your excuses. Whew. We are a lot of times things that we should do, we are the biggest impediment to that. It works because we've all got excuses. So many excuses. And they're not hard to come up with new ones. The thing is, that's when you have to keep coming up with excuses for why not to do something. That might be a line that, maybe you should do it. And then the last one I'll share is the difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you do about it. And the reason that works is it's around an identity. And we'll get into that in a bit. You don't feel, you feel insignificant, or you feel like that's too big for me to accomplish. That's part of it. Well, the thing is between who you are and who you want to be or should be, it's what you do. I love it. And then I will share, I said that was the last one. One that I love, it's very simple. It's Napoleon gets credited for this, but the word impossible is a word to be found only in the dictionary of fools. That's pretty strong from Napoleon. However, I love it. Impossible. How many times have you done things people said you couldn't do? How many people do you know who've done things that were before they did it? It's impossible. Yeah. Well, I don't like it. I don't like that can't. I don't like negative people. I don't hang around negative people for very long. A lot of times I'll hang around them for a while to see if I can change them. When I can't change them, or they're consistently negative, they find themselves outside the circle. So what I want to talk about now is 5 reasons that you can be positive about your ability to succeed. If you want to, you can put 2 or 3 things, or just one thing that you really want to try. You really want to go for. A home, work, or play. It could be a career move. It could be a position you want in 5 years, in 1 year. It could be a golf tournament, a tennis tournament. If you play pickleball, bless your heart, it could be that. Or maybe it's, hey, I want to be able to relax. I'm really having I got so much going on. I need to be, whatever goal that is, if it's important, let's figure out a way to do it. So no matter if it involves other people, hey, I want to get a hot rod and totally strip it down and rebuild it. Okay. All right. Whatever that is. Because if you can do something, you can use the same principles and do almost anything. And so let's jump in. Here are 5 reasons why you should be positive about your ability to succeed. There's no fluff. I'm not fluffing at you here. I'm talking real stuff, real grassroots reasons why you should be positive. First thing is, you failed before at something and you're still standing. I mean, if you're listening right now, you know the stuff that tried to break you. Maybe no one else knows about it. But what are some times, and I don't want you to delve into it too long on the stuff, what broke you down, man? What brought you to a low? And maybe you're there now, but what brought you there? Hopefully you learned something from it, because everything, a mistake you made, there's so many lessons. When you win, hey, it's corny, but When you win, that's great. But when you lose, you learn so that you can win again. I talked about that in a previous one. Be grateful. Be grateful for that person to beat the crap out of you in an event, because you learn a lot more from that than when you did it to somebody else. So, it's not, consider this. What you learn from a mistake or something that broke you, man. I believe, don't waste pain, but don't consider that as failure. Consider that as, that's a payment. It's tuition on my education. So, number one, that's why you should be positive. You failed before and you're still here, man. I love it. The second one is your competition. It's overrated. A lot of people will quit halfway. They'll quit halfway. They'll procrastinate because they want to. They call it planning. I do sessions on planning, and everybody plans to plan, but they don't plan because they keep planning. I'm getting ready. I'm fixing to do it. I'm fixing to plan. I plan on it. I plan to be fixing to plan. It's crap. Stop it. Do it. Your competition is overrated. So if you stay consistent, just mildly focused, you're going to be ahead of them, because they're doing the same thing. They're either taking you for granted, they're taking the task for granted. So if you just be consistent, and I saw something earlier today, shaky steps in the right direction is still progress. So whatever reason you're holding back, and we'll get to them, if you just show steady progress, you're doing better than your competition, because they're either overestimating their ability, underestimating yours, or taking something for granted. Competition's overrated. And also, you've solved harder problems than you remember. Oh, wait a minute, Dave, you don't know me. How are you saying that? That's pretty arrogant. Nah, there's some things that at one point you thought were impossible, but you figured out a way. You've done it for so long, you've just become less impressed, because now there's nothing to it. Oh, I can tell you stories not only in public speaking. My goodness, I used to be horrified. Now I'm horrified to not do it. Maybe I should be, but I can think of. I go back to this all the time. My daughter, when she was learning gymnastics and dance and all that stuff, she would try something, and I thought her little back was going to break at times. She just couldn't get it. She kept on and kept on, and within 2 weeks, she was doing something 10 times harder when she thought just that simple movement was impossible. I remember parts, the music parts and songs or whatever, you just think, oh, that's just too complicated. And then later, that's the easiest part of that song. You don't even have to think about it. Muscle memory takes over. And then just in dealing with it, there's so many sports analogies, but also dealing with people. Whether it's negative people or people that are combative, they just want to argue. You learn over time how to deal with it. You learn how to spot it ahead of time. And so that working through a problem, now it's something that would have shook you. It would have broken you. Now, just through repetition, which sometimes is difficult, or experience, you forget about it. And then but you see other people who are struggling with the same things, and it's just simple to you. At one point, it was very difficult. Remember that. You've solved harder problems than you remember. And also, a fourth thing is resources are more accessible. Resources are almost endless to learn a new skill. You have an idea how you can launch that. To get advice anonymously or reach out to people, through the World Wide Web, or mentors, or all kinds of communities exist now to talk to work with, to pull from, to give to. All you need right now is a Wi-Fi connection and a pulse, and you've got a great opportunity for resources that we never had before. My goodness, my first business was ran on graph paper. My lawn mowing business. I'm not going to tell you the story, but I put it on graph paper. Graph paper because that's all we had. I don't know. I think one of my sisters was taking a class and we had graph paper, so I made. There's a grid. Oh, this is fantastic. I can do this, and it lines it up, and everything can be in a straight column. That's fantastic. Then later I realized when I took, this is going to date me, but when I took Lotus programming, I think it turned to Lotus 123. I was programming. There wasn't a mouse. There were no mice back then, but that was foundational. And then to think of my first business, if I had the internet, I had access to things. Oh my! What would it have? I'd probably be dead by now. Or hyper rich. I'm not either. Hey, but I can succeed. So more resources are available. And then I think one of the things that can get you through some tough times. And let me go back through these. You failed before, and you're still here. Competition's overrated. Man, they're inconsistent. You show the slightest bit of consistency, and you're ahead of the pack. You solve harder problems than you remember. And then resources are almost unlimited and so accessible. But the last thing is, the world rewards action, not perfection. Do something. You don't have to be perfect at it. And, you don't have to show up in a tuxedo and a finished work of art. Nah. Progress. It can be clumsy, awkward, just moving. So the shaky legs, I'm struggling here. As long as it's a move forward, that's progress. And that's something you can build on. That's what you remember. And before long, you find yourself further along than you thought you could be. And then before long, you may even change that goal. Yeah, I didn't think I could accomplish that. Well, you know what? I'm going to do this on the way up. Let me reset. I can do more. That creates momentum. So I believe there's reasons for everybody to be positive about, in general, what they can do, but specifically as well. So when you look at doubts, that's the biggest reason people don't start. It's tough. It's too tough, the task at hand. A lot of it is in the psychology of it. 3 reasons why people have internal resistance. And I like 3s. A lot of times I go to 5s, but 3 are easy to remember. So very smart people. I don't know how smart some of them are, but they came up with some pretty good stuff here. When you dig into why people don't try, why people, even though, all those reasons to go for it, 3 reasons why people really don't pursue it is fear of failure. They're just overwhelmed by too much at once, or they feel insignificant. So let's jump at these one at a time. So the reason fear is a big one is you think to yourself, somebody else will talk you out of it, but our challenges are internal. The fear of, what if I fail? For me, that might have been a problem at first. Some people will go after it and, halfway expect to fail. Look at the people who've shown success. I saw the other day, I was in Louisville, and there are Kentucky Fried Chickens everywhere. But everybody, I believe, has heard the journey of Colonel Sanders. He didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken until he's 65. He didn't care. What if I fail? That wasn't a problem for him. And I don't think it's a problem for me that much. There for a while, the reason I didn't start is, what will people think if I fail? So that combines the first one. So the 3 are, what if I fail? What will people think? Or, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I'm afraid that I'm going to get in the middle of this and fail. So it hits so hard because fear has always been the big negative. It's ancient. Fear has been around as long as there have been people. It's your prep. It's a natural thing for your brain to try to keep you safe. No risk. You know, those people they seemingly have no fear. I tell you, the people who get in those things at the fair that slingshots them into outer space, and they put the camera on them, and they're having the time of their life. I tell you, some crazy people that really should be committed somewhere. The stratosphere. I can almost see it from the edge of my subdivision here. There's a thing on the stratosphere that you get in it, and it falls, and you slide down it, and right at the last minute, it catches you. Anybody that would do that, but yet won't go after some other goals, I mean, do they have no fear? They're crazy. That falls under the category of just because you can doesn't mean you should. But fear's normal. It's our brain survival instinct kicking in, trying to keep us from avoiding risk. You know, even if that risk is just an emotion, it could be an uncomfortable feeling or some uncertainty. Some people, that's bigger. That's a bigger challenge or obstacle than others. You know, fear doesn't care about growth. It cares about survival. But it's natural. And so the thing is, how to push through that. What if I fail? Or, you know, what if I don't try? I know. Quit thinking about what could go wrong and think about what could go right. Well, that triggers me with, okay, that's a great little tagline, but what if I don't try? You know, the regret side. That's how I've gotten over a lot of fears in my life. Asking yourself that question, what if? And we cover that in Weeds. You know, that it comes back and grabs you. You can be everything going to be great, but then just, what if I'd have done this 10 years earlier? What if I had done something else? How would that be paying off now? So that turning that around to what if I fail? What if I don't try? That's a good way for me to get through some stuff. You know, fear doesn't just go away, but it loses its power. There are things that I do right before I do them every time. I'm afraid. I'm nervous, but I push through, and it's like, I'm so afraid about this. Is fantastic. And I used to get really nervous before performing with musical groups. No, not anymore. The anticipation, my stomach could get in knots, but it's out of anticipation. Where before, I would be crippled. I know people who have been very successful in athletics, where right before they go out, you know, a lot of times they get sick. They're nauseous from fear, but you push through it. There's no shame in being afraid. What if you don't try though? So I think I've beat fear to death. It's normal. It's our survival instincts. However, I guarantee you the first guy hungry enough to kill a lion or kill some big beast to eat it, he found a way to get through his fear. Second one, I'm overwhelmed. It's just too much. Oh, it's just too much. I don't know where to start. This task is so big. I know nothing about starting a business. I know nothing about getting people involved. I know nothing about leading. Overwhelmed. Yeah, and so many times, this is important about having people you trust in your job or just in general. I know there are a lot of people in organizations I've worked for who saw something in me I didn't see in myself. But no, I was satisfied with here. And they thought, oh no, you need to be 2 steps up. And they didn't mean you should be there now. No, that's where you should be looking. Okay. So they actually saw more in me than I saw in myself. So it's natural to be overwhelmed. You know, but the thing is, when you're caught up in those emotions of being overwhelmed, everything is just so urgent. Oh, that's when you're tempted to overthink or multitask doing nothing. And nothing gets done. That's the thing about multitasking. You convince yourself that starting is pointless or you're not ready to start. So then finishing, of course, feels impossible, and you're overwhelmed. It's a terrible feeling, isn't it? It just challenges with friends. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Well, sometimes you just need to engage. The conversation will take care of itself. Sometimes you just need to listen. Sometimes you don't have to solve all of their problems. They just need a friendly ear. Sometimes you just need to, at work, I don't know how to do that part of it, but Joe does. Oh, and I don't know how to talk to so-and-so, a very strong person. Oh, but Sandy's a good friend of them. Get her involved. We can start breaking it down rather than, ah. So that's what you do to get through that overwhelmed situation. Shrink the task. Make it smaller. Here's what we do. Here's how we get started. Here's that first step. My son and I were just in Baltimore. And usually if we have time, I do things less, I guess, noble or, what would the word be? Productive. Downtime's downtime to me. Let's go find a good restaurant or go listen to some music or something. Well, he's more of a sightseer and a history guy. Where he got that, I have no idea. So we saw this, it was a monument to George Washington. It wasn't the Washington Monument, no. But anyway, we saw it in the distance, and he said, "What's that?" So we go over there, and it was a monument. And we walked around it reading the plaques. And it said, come on in, you can climb to the top of that thing. And it's these very small stairs. There are 227 of them. And it looks so tall. And he said, "Let's go." Okay. Yeah, he snatched the pebble from my hand and took it to the top of this monument. And so we start 227 steps. Oh, come on. That's a lot. This is downtime, dude. Anyway, we started. Boom. We started going, and they're short, so it made it worse. And it's going around a monument, so you can't take 2 or 3 at a time, even though they were small steps. Well, what it did was it said, okay, you're 25 steps in. Okay, you're, 50 steps in. They got to you're halfway. Don't give up. This is Washington, a monument to George Washington. Then it got just 25 steps to go. It was pushing me. It was fantastic. But that's what it was. Once we start, I just needed something to get me started. And that was my boy saying, "Let's go." Well, if he can do it, I can do it. And think, if he had wanted to give up at 25, I probably would have. But he kept going. And so I kept going. And then the monument itself kept us going. So we shrunk it down to a few steps. Then we got to the point where, we can see light up there. I wonder what we can see from there. And we got up and it was fantastic. We could see the whole city, and it had north, south, east. It was laid out for us perfectly. It was great. However, we shrunk the task. Sometimes when you're doing something, you have to be ridiculously specific. There's worst thing you can do when you're starting to write a book is write those first few words. It's the hardest thing. You got a blank sheet of paper. Oh, come on. Give me something to go by. A white paper is harder than the project because you're dealing with blank space. So the thing is, just start. Just start. Momentum will build confidence. And that's what you do. And you know what that day entailed? We had plenty of free time. We said, okay, what's next? We saw another monument. Let's go see what that is. And we ended up, I think we walked 24,000 steps that morning. Where normally, Mr. Productivity here would have been satisfied with catching a ball game, watching Sports Center, doing whatever. No. But that's the way you have to treat that overwhelmed situation. We had that whole city. He saw something. Let's go there. Place to start. Be crazy specific and shrink the task. That's it. That's how you'll get over being overwhelmed with whatever your goals are. Then the last one I'll go over is just insignificance. I'm not good enough. Maybe this task is too important for me to take on, or maybe I'm just not good enough to do it. I'm not worthy. Someone else should get credit for this. People like me don't do stuff like this. Or I'm telling you, I'm running into more and more of this particular one where people say, I've messed up too much. I'm not worthy. Maybe they have some shame involved. Oh, that breaks my heart. Those are the people that can be used more effective than anybody, because shame attacks your identity. It doesn't touch your ability. You still have that. And sometimes, instead of saying you failed, go back to the first one, it says, no, you're a failure. That's what shame says. Shame is a liar. Yeah. And after a while, you start to believe it. You gotta get through this. So you are significant. Maybe you pull people together. Maybe you attack it as a group. However, you can lead that charge. People like you may not do that in the past. That's why it didn't get done. But don't think just because you failed, you're a failure. Don't think you're not good enough. You gotta give yourself a break on stuff like this. And it's self-compassion, not to get too ooey gooey here or Pollyanna. It's a skill. Because if you're bent to the negative side, you'll be hyper negative on yourself. However, I've observed that people that are overly positive, these people, of course you do. They're not as positive on themselves. They're hard on themselves, but they have the backup of, I'll do better. That's not going to get me again. But they're hard on themselves. So they've learned, people that succeed, they have self-compassion after they beat themselves up pretty good. So you're not just because you failed, that doesn't mean you're a failure. So you push through this. I talk to myself all the time, and I hear voices. Yeah, but this is why you surround yourself with positive people. People who will show you the truth about yourself when you're feeling down or you don't feel worthy, or your potential is so much more than sometimes you think it is. Like I said earlier with those people at the workplace I worked, it's not your past. Your past is what has built you for the future. So, I've done many talks where I just didn't feel like it was, I didn't throw my A game. Maybe they didn't laugh at that joke, and that one always kills. What's wrong with this group? Was my energy level not where it should be? Maybe things don't flow. I struggled with this transition. I'm very hypercritical of myself. You leave a musical performance and the crowd gives you that feedback, and it's fantastic. Sometimes when you speak, you don't get it. You don't, because they're very serious. They're very they're thinking. I usually break them down and we laugh and cut up and have a good time. But I can tell you on those occasions when I didn't feel like I had my A game, almost every time somebody will come up and say something like, I had a rough morning. I almost didn't come today. But when you said this, man, that hit me. That hit me like a ton of bricks. And I am so glad I came. Ta-da! That's it. So see, even if you don't feel like you're worthy, or the task is too big for you, or you're feeling insignificant in some way, you have no idea who's going to see what you do, how you fight. There are people who have lost in sporting events sometimes, but they won the crowd because look how hard they're fighting for this. They want this so bad. Good comes from it. I'm telling you. Fear will say, don't move. Don't move. Being overwhelmed, well, don't you start. This is too complicated for you. And then that insignificance will say, you don't deserve this. Being able to recognize those things coming at you, that negativity, you can not and wish you had, but once you start, you're going to create that momentum. This might be a good time to end, but I'm not going to because I got more to say. But there are things that when things are telling you can't or you shouldn't, which is only natural, there's some things that you need, like your inner critic. It says, it says you're not ready. It says you're going to embarrass yourself. Yeah, who do you think you are? That comes from childhood conditioning, I believe. Maybe definitely past failures, but think as a child, I was so shy, painfully shy. But also, just past failures of people that doubted you and they were right at that time, and they were so confident that you can't do it. Ooh, that's rough. But it disguises itself as humility, but really it's just fear. It's just fear. So the solution is face it, man. Face it. Literally push back that inner critic. Have a way. It's good in some ways because it keeps you from, doing things just because you can. You shouldn't. But that inner critic is good because it makes you able to push back on it. I mean, Doubtful Dave is in here, thinking, I don't think you can. I don't think you should is one thing. I don't think you can. Yeah, I'll show you. I got it. And so being able to listen to that and realize it's not real. It's not real. It's an excuse. And you push through it. And another thing, social comparison. People are doing this. Social media is, I don't know how this is going to end, guys. Social media it's a downward spiral, but it's being held up by so many. I don't know where the end of it is, but in social media, it leads you to compare. It may say, oh, so-and-so's already doing this, and oh, they're good at it. Remember, your competition's overrated. They're so far down the path. I'm too late to the game. Oh, come on. Some of the most successful websites launched way after others because it watched them make mistakes. You can take nuances. You can make it your version, which no one's ever seen. I can promise you that. And then, I don't look or sound like them. That's a good thing. You've got everything from, all the social platforms, everything, whether it's business or social media or whatever, they don't, every day something's new or a new take on it. They don't have it figured out. I don't care who they are because they haven't got your experiences. And then you comparing that to them, you're just seeing the highlights. They're not showing. I mean, there's some funny stuff. Chive TV cracks me up because of all the crashes and people messing up. However, these people that you're comparing to, you're just seeing the best. You're seeing their resume. You're seeing their Chamber of Commerce photos. Hey, they've got a gag reel too. And so some things that I've started to do with this, things that trigger me, whether it's self-doubt or just something negative, I don't follow it. I cancel it. Unfriend, whatever the lingo is for that site. And my feed is getting more positive. I don't need to see finished products of people that I don't want to be. Then you can focus on your own stuff. A lot of musicians, I heard one, it's hard for me to believe, you got early influences, but they talked, then you said, who do you listen to now? And he said, I really don't listen to new influences anymore. I listen to some of my old stuff and think I can do better. Or things like that, or I look for inspiration. But it's like, I don't listen to other people because I don't want to be influenced by it. That lets you travel in your own lane. I know people with, I've seen several times lately. I was at a place earlier, and there's a guy who had a sketch artist, and he was drawing people performing, and he was just drawing a sketch of that. And I heard someone asking, how long you been doing this? He said, I just started doing it. And they said, why don't you just take a picture? He said, I don't want to take what the camera sees. I want to take what I see. Wow. Now that guy's, I don't know. He's maybe a little too eccentric for me, but that's an example of focusing on your lane with blinders on. He didn't care what anybody else was doing. I love that. So the comparisons, don't do that. It can be negative. And then, there are things that you feel like a lot of reasons people don't try to succeed is they're worried about what others are going to say. Yeah. That's not a real job. What are you doing? That's not a real job. You know, you should have you should be married and have kids by now. You should be planning for retirement. Yeah. You're too old to be doing that. I get that a lot. People will see me at some of these things that we go to, and they think I either own the place or I'm the accountant. They used to think I was security, but now I'm not as upright and strong. Hey, it's not holding me back. But the thing is, that's what the world says. So don't worry about that. I mean, it's bad enough you comparing yourself to somebody else, but then again, for someone else to say, what's wrong with you? That's not real. You shouldn't be trying that. You know, that could come from, depending on where your family, school, media. Yeah, a lot of these, it's outdated. When we moved to California from the South thought we were crazy. When we moved to California from the South, California thought, oh, these guys are sincere. That's a breath of fresh air. You go around, you're going to get perceptions from it doesn't matter what the world says. What do you want? What do you want? Again, a reason to surround yourself with positive people, realistic but positive people. You know, the cautious scripts are written by people who wish they had done something, and they want you to stay back with them. What if you succeed? How does that make them look? Don't play with that. You know, they're designed for safety and comfort rather than going for something. And there's a lot of what ifs in that community. So, who made these rules that you're following? No, you just made them up. I'm writing my own deal. I don't want to say what if. That's why you can. You can. Yeah, friends. The positive circle of friends, and positive doesn't just mean yes men. It's the ones that tell you if you got a booger on your nose, or if you got if your fly's unzipped, or if, all the different things I've said in the past. However, they also need to be supportive. Oh, I remember back, learned early in Sunday school about Job. Remember Job? At one point, his dearest friends in the world, they were not that positive. They were saying, oh, look at you, standing by your beliefs no matter what. You should just curse your God and die. Thanks, guys. Yeah, y'all ready to watch the game now? Come on. You got to have positive people. And just because they're giving you feedback doesn't mean it's what you need to hear, but you learn something from that. So applying the principles that I've talked about. If you fell before, but you're still standing. Let's take it down a notch. You lost your temper. You've forgotten birthdays. You were late for dinner. Maybe you cooked it and you burned dinner. Your people still love you. You know what? They're not looking for perfection. Just apologize and hit the reset button. Hey, you know what? I'll recook it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I lost my temper. Something happened earlier today. I did something and it was taken a little different. I went back in later and we okay. Everything all right? Here's where I was coming from. I'm sorry. Hit the reset button. Sometimes that apology's you're resetting, but from a better place. At work, yeah, you messed up. Yeah, you messed up a task. You misread an email and responded wrongly. You hit reply to all when you didn't mean to, and yeah, you bombed at a meeting. What? You can't believe you said what you said. Didn't get you fired. You learned from that mistake. Oh, so many things I did horribly wrong. And rookie mistake. Yeah, I still made rookie mistakes after 20 years. However, didn't kill me. I remember one time a guy said we messed up at a presentation, and this guy came in and he's passed away now. His name's Jerry Giles, and so we left. He was really technical, and I was more of the mouthpiece. And he looked at me. He said, "Well, Dave, all they can do is tell us not to come back tomorrow." He said, "Oh, they can." What he meant was all they can do is fire us. They can't beat us up. So hey, we're all going to mess up. It's part of it. People still mess up. Sometimes it's endearing to see a mentor or somebody that you hold in high esteem mess up. It makes them more lovable. And then let's talk about play. You learn a new hobby. You look ridiculous. What is wrong with you? But everybody does it first. You laugh your way through it. It's great. You're gonna, if you stick to it, in a few months, you're gonna see somebody else that was in the same shape. You can be an encouragement to them. You're gonna get better. Yeah, well, and you probably won't get better if you're like me. You're not getting good enough quick enough. Stick to it. Yeah. You've got to get the word can't out of your vocabulary. You say can't, I'm going to say no with that attitude. It turns your past mistakes into proof that failure is not fatal. That's it. You're still here. You failed miserably. You look stupid. You got through it and you're still here. You learn from it. Hopefully you're not doing the same thing over and over. So there you go. You fell before and you're still standing. Competition's overrated. The more I think about this, the more things come back to my mind. Don't compare your parent at home. Don't compare your parenting styles to other people. Don't compare your marriage to other marriages. Don't compare your house or your apartment to stuff you see on HGTV. Come on. Again, that's the highlight reel. I've always said I wouldn't trade problems with anybody. No way. No, you go to HGTV, they didn't show that with all the laundry laying everywhere and toys on the floor and everything. No, you need to focus on you at your home. Here's what we're going to do. Here's where we can do better. Here's where we want to be. And hopefully where we want to be, we attain that and we had set new goals. So the competition's overrated. Don't compare yourselves to other people. At work, most people are winging it more than they admit. Yeah. Don't think you're behind them. No, you're just being honest. Here's where I am. Warts and all. This is me. Stay curious. Stay competitive. Stay consistent. Consistently better. Because remember, most people aren't. And you're going to achieve. And what you're going to do, those people who are really achieving, they'll see you and they'll either make you better out of competition or they'll pull you in and you learn from each other out of collaboration. I love it. And then at play, competition's overrated. I need to get in shape. Yeah, I need to write more. I need to travel more. I need to create. Yeah, don't wait to be as good as somebody else when you start. I'm guilty of this. If I'm going to play golf with a new group, I don't play that often, but I'll go practice a lot before. And I'll show up. Last time I showed up to this, they've been playing. One guy was talking about, hey, I'm a member of a club and blah, 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 blah. I got there. I'm not that good. I was just as good as anybody out there. So in my head, though, that drove me to practice and try to get better. However, competition was overrated. So don't destroy yourself trying to measure up to something that doesn't exist. It reminds you along the way, you're not losing. Yeah. It's leisure time. You're just playing along. It's supposed to be play. That's why it's called play. And a lot of people quit. They don't enjoy the play part because they're comparing themselves to other people. Okay? You solved problems harder. You solved harder problems in the past than you remember. At home, is anything worse, harder than raising children? No. The answer is no. Caring for a elderly parent? No. The answer is no. So holding, you think about your marriage. We go back 37 years. Last week, 37 years. We made it, how did we get through that? You just did. You did. 37 years, people say it all the time. Oh, that's quite an accomplishment. Yes, it is. Yeah. It didn't, thinking about the whole thing, it didn't seem that hard. We had a great time, blah, blah, blah. Still, we accomplished it. At work, some of the crisis, you look at ups and downs of the economy and things, COVID and blah, 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 all that stuff. Made it through that. We're still here. The project, remember that project we worked on and blah, 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 days and nights and spent weeks, da, 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 da. We killed it. But fear wants us to forget those wins and make that next project look so much bigger. Oh, yeah, we did that, but how are we going to do that? Yeah. Bongino on his podcast would talk about receipts. He's got you. I got the receipts. Keep the receipts for what you've accomplished. At home, work, and play, but at work especially. Some people would call it a resume. I say it's those files. I don't get rid of anything. I got everything. I got a 2 terabyte deal right here. I think it costs $50. I keep everything. Will I ever use it again? Maybe not in practice, but to fight back some things I don't think I can do. Absolutely. And then at play, every skill. My goodness, whether it's learning the Macarena to your video game skills to painting. I ran across some stuff the other day. My daughter painted. She was fantastic. Forgot about it. I don't know if she still does it. I don't think so. Or solving challenges. It's at play. Your brain learns and retains more than you give it credit for. You go back. I could probably go out play tennis. I haven't played in years, and within 30 minutes, I think I got it. You'll muscle memory, whatever. The next morning I won't be able to get out of bed. However, you've solved harder problems. I talked about the receipts. You've done the tough stuff before. You can do it again. And you've solved much harder problems than you remember. About the resources, man. It's just unbelievable. And it's going to get crazier. People that are scared of AI or whatever, you can be scared all you want. I may be naive, but there's so many things. YouTube. If you don't know how to do something, YouTube it, and they'll show you how to do it, not just tell you. Parenting tips, budgets, to fix a broken dishwasher. It's right in front of you now. And so you don't have to know everything, and you don't have to ask anybody. That's the reason us men wouldn't do. We don't like instructions or directions. We can look it up and, I got it. And we'll take full credit for it. At work, there's always courses, a mentor of some. Again, YouTube videos for work. You don't know it yet? That's fine. Hey, just kick it in, and you can find out. The resources are unlimited. They are. If and at play, I use it all the time. You want to learn a song? I just can't get that part. Yeah, can't. Well, not with that attitude. You look it up, and it's like, no, it's easy. I got it. That's all I had to do. Whether you want to learn to sing, learn to play an instrument, start your stand-up comedy routine, you don't have to ask anybody. Just do it. You can learn how, because limited resources are unlimited. So it turns that I don't know how into sometimes, I can't find it. Where is it? Okay. You're looking now instead of I can't. Where do I find it? And you start looking for it. And then the last one, the world rewards actions. You don't have to be perfect. Actions get rewarded. At home, you're going to get better at cooking to where that thing you burned earlier, now you've mastered it. A conversation, you learn how to navigate something now, and you're much more present, and you're listening. You learn that because you want to, and the world rewards action. Do it. It can be clumsy. You'll get better. At work, you wait till that proposal is perfect. You're going to be late, and it still won't be perfect. I can tell you. You're going to be waiting forever. Finished beats perfect. Always. Always. Do it. Get it done. Get it in. And then next time, you can improve it. I love that. Being done beats perfect. And then play. Join the class. Book a trip. Wear that weird outfit. My son got me the other day, and he just looked at me shaking his head. I said, well, you don't like what I got on? He said, you've got 3 different patterns. I was so mismatched, I almost matched. I liked it. I like what I had on. Whatever. Life's too short to wait for everything to be perfect. You're never going to show up if you do that. So it reframes that whole I'm not ready, to, all right, what is enough? This is enough. I'll take it. I'll go with what I've got. Yeah, I love that. Sometimes we'll go to shows and we don't know if it's a multi-day show. We don't know about the weather. We won't pack a long sleeve. We'll just buy one there. We'll take it as it goes. I love it. I love it. So every day, whether it's at homework or play, your mind's going to tell you can't. It's survival. It's survival. However, that's going to lead to what ifs. And that's not what we want. That's not what we want. The what ifs are they haunt you. And so I will say this. We've talked more about getting started and going through things, but also don't quit. Don't quit. What if you quit right before everything turns around and you don't get the upside? The whole don't quit thing, failure gets normalized. You stay on your lane and don't take a chance and risk passing. You've got all of these reasons not to start. But once you start, don't quit. Keep going. Learn. You can change things, but don't quit. So I hope this has been helpful. I want you to be positive. I want you to know you can do things, because those doubts, that's just the brain trying to be safe. So there's a lot of things, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But those things that keep coming up that you want to do, that you need to do, go for it. Start the day. Baby steps. All right, hit me up at dave@otalks.com or david@otalks.com. I got a lot of new stuff coming up on the website. It's almost ready to launch. Excited about that. So I appreciate your support more than you know. I appreciate your comments. Keep them coming, good, bad, or indifferent. They all help me. But I appreciate it. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging on. And thanks for Talking with Dave.
Welcome to Talking with Dave, the podcast that turns personal productivity into a laughing matter. Join Dave for positive and humorous insights into increasing your personal productivity, where he blends the art of storytelling, humor, and clever analogies to make the pursuit of productivity an enjoyable experience. Each episode is approximately an hour-long casserole of laughter and learning as we navigate the world of to-do lists, time management, and conflict management, and taking out the mental trash with a jovial twist. Dave pontificates on many topics dealing with reducing the impact of stress, worry, and distraction on your well-planned day. Looking for the silver linings and humor in often ominous circumstances is not only a healthy, but Dave's approach lends itself to self-learning and self-coaching. A sort of snatching the pebble from your own hand type of thing. Tune in, smile your way to success, and let's make productivity a laughing matter together.